The date is the 21st of June 2019, and this is an account of the training and my channel swim which I did in August 1964. The film starts with my first training swims on the 1st of April 1964 up and down the old Weymouth pleasure pier. The water was absolutely freezing cold. In fact, so cold that it felt as though the back of your head was going to lift off. It was really painful. And afterwards, when I got out of the water, the body core was just so cold, it took me a couple of hours just to stop shaking. But it was an important part of doing the channel because you had to get water fit and get yourself used to being cold. What you're seeing now is the going to Lulworth Cove for my first really long practice swim. Distance of 10.5 miles from Lulworth back to Weymouth Beach. And here I am wearing a hat for the first time and only time. My coach thought I ought to wear a hat. I tried it and absolutely hated it. Just a sensation I couldn't get on with. And getting into the water off a boat like this is not necessarily a pleasant experience. The water was still pretty cold. It was early in the season. And just jumping in like that is a real shock to the system. And off we go, striking back towards Weymouth. Going along what is now called the Jurassic Coast. And here after 3 hours of swimming, I'm stopping for my first feed. You use a lot of calories when you're swimming, and food is an essential part of the swim. Here I'm having Ribena and honey, followed by chicken breast and fruit, and finished with glucose coffee. A mixture designed to give you lots of energy and fill you up. And that'll all be burnt off before the next feed. And here I'm doing a training swim across to Portland Harbour. And it just so happened that we did it on a day when the Navy was having a rehearsal for a visit to the Duke of Edinburgh. They weren't very happy with having me in the water and ordered me to get out. My coach and his assistants all said, well, in 2 minutes, and made the appropriate gesture with the fingers. They didn't let me out, and the Navy kept sailing by. And you see a close collision, almost a collision, with a submarine. And here you see the water's a little bit rough while I'm trying to feed. And that's always a danger, because if you get a mouth full of salt water while you're trying to feed, it can upset the stomach. It can make you feel very sick indeed, and is really not good for you. But you need something to wipe the salt off the tongue. And here we're rowing into Ringstead Bay. Pontin's holiday camp told some of their happy campers that I was going to do a training swim coming ashore on the beach, and then I was going to go up and do a demonstration swim in their swimming pool. Then some of the more bored ones came down to see me land. Oh yes, very exciting. Anyway, I had to then climb up the cliff having landed and swim in the pool for an hour. They soon realised how boring that was and all disappeared off to the bar. This is the start of a 21-mile swim from Weymouth Beach out to Lulworth and back again, the first really serious training. And you can see me here putting Vaseline under the arms and between the thighs. Very important, because you get considerable chafing from the constant action of the arms and legs. It gets very, very uncomfortable. And here, starting the swim, I was a little bit pessimistic about it, because it started off really quite unpleasant and blowing right into my face. And about halfway out to Lulworth Cove, two of the committee men, Bob Locke and Dave Taylor, came out with supplies of food and to give me some encouragement. I think really it was an excuse for them to get out the office for the day. That's my coach and trainer, Godfrey Chapman, first Englishman home in the 1951 Channel race. A great man. I owe him a lot. I'm greatly saddened by his death. That's the paddle steamer Embassy, owned by Cousins of Weymouth. She's doing her regular run from Weymouth to Lulworth Cove. And the skipper said, there's a chap training to swim the channel over there on the port hand side. And everybody rushed over, and the paddle steamer tilted right over most alarmingly. And as you can see, by the end of the day, thank goodness, the sea had calmed right down. It was really very calm for the end of the swim. And now I'm in Folkestone, in training for the swim, in preparation for the swim. In the hammock is Sam Rocket, first Dorset man to swim the channel. He was from Poole. That's me with a book he's given me. And they're the 3 Dorset channel swimmers, as it turned out. While I was waiting to do my swim, the weather was absolutely dreadful. It blew a hooligan. And I went down to see if I could get a training swim in, but as you'll see, it was impossible. The sea was just too rough. And we thought we were going to have to cancel because we could only do the swim during the neap tides. And it was coming towards the springs. But we had a brief window of opportunity, and we could only do the swim in the opposite direction to what I originally intended. I was going to do France-England, but it was decided because of the weather and the way that the winds were going to blow in the next couple of days that we would go from England to France, which is actually a more difficult swim to do. But very, very unpleasant while I was waiting. And here we are leaving Folkestone Harbour to go along to Dover to start the swim. I started the swim from Shakespeare Cliff, which is just to the west of the port of Dover. The skipper of the boat, the blue boat that we're on, is Reg Brickle. He's very good. That's the Channel Swimming Association observer. You register with them and they send an observer to make sure that the swim is legitimate and you're not getting out of the boat and being ferried halfway across, then jumping back in again. Everything, you have to swim the whole distance and not get towed or come aboard. A friend of mine came with us called Brian Maurice. He was the one you saw putting on a swimming costume just now, and he kept me company the swimming from the start of the swim for just a short while. And that's Shakespeare Cliff. Went ashore because the swim has to be started by walking into the water, and my skipper is rubbing on a mixture of anhydrous lanolin and olive oil, supposed to keep out the cold. It doesn't do anything of the sort actually, it just washes off gradually, but it does help avoid a bit of sunburn, and it does help avoid jellyfish stings if there should be any in the water. But it's most unpleasant. You've got to try and avoid getting it in your mouth or eyes. And here we go. After all the training and preparation, to be on our way at last was a huge relief. And we seemed to leave the land behind very, very quickly. It was quite deceptive how quickly we were moving. And when I was to stop for my first swim, my first feed, we looked back towards the cliffs at Dover. We didn't seem to have come very far at all. But I suppose by that stage we were about 8 or 9 miles off the shore. A film was made by Rank, a look at life on crossing the channel, and I was fortunate enough to be picked for it. There's the skipper, Reg Brickle, and with him Mike Neeson, the Echo reporter. And Jeff keeping an eye on me, making sure I'm doing what I was told. And this is one of the dangers of swimming the channel, is the shipping that goes up and down. It's better regulated now than it was, but ships are supposed to slow down if there's anyone in the water. And they didn't. They just kept going at the same speed. And the wake that the ship left was absolutely threatening because the waves were so big. And here we are, my first feed. And there's looking back at the cliffs of Dover, 8 or 9 miles away. We thought we stood a chance of getting the record at this stage because we were doing far better than we expected. We were getting very close to France, and it looked as though we could have broken the record for the crossing for England to France. So getting quite enthusiastic. All right, for some just laid there with their feet up. Others fishing for mackerel. As you can see, compared with the previous exit where you saw that rough sea, the sea is much calmed down. And it's quite eerie when you're swimming in the sea there because you can see 20 or 30 yards ahead of you through the water, and you see great big jellyfish hanging there, and when they see you coming they start moving to, well, not see you but sense you coming, they move towards you. And this sting is not that bad, it's more like a stinging nettle, but it's unpleasant rather than life-threatening or anything like that. At this point I was going really well, really looking to break the record. Little did I realise that I'd still be swimming 9 hours later, as the tides took me up and down through the sewers of Calais twice. And here we are coming into land, a few people waiting to welcome me. And you can see how overnight, because I had to swim overnight, this was early morning, that the wind had got up again. That brief window of opportunity had been seized and the sea almost blew me ashore. But here I come at long last, feet on the ground. I've made it. Sensation I will never ever forget as long as I live. It was a huge relief. And I came out of that swim 1.5 stone lighter than I'd started it, despite all the food I'd eaten. And you see how cold it was, everybody wrapped up now, and compare that with how they were before. Tops off, enjoying the sunshine.